Hi everyone, welcome to video number 27 in the UE5 vehicle tutorial series. This video is going to be yet another Blender video because the upcoming vehicle customization system includes being able to swap out the wheel, and for that we need some prep work on the 3D model itself, and I'm also going to show you a little bit of how I prep the specific models I'm using for this project, and also, how I deal with the material slots and all that for the paints. So the first thing I should mention is you can actually download these 3D models that I'm using from Sketchfab. I will be posting a link in the video description to the exact one I'll be using in this video. Just give me a second here to bring it up. Okay, so the one I'm using here is this one. It was posted by LePointe Bat, and when you download it, what I like to do is to download the GLB version, because whenever you download a 3D model with textures, the GLB or even the blend file has the texture embedded in it, so you don't have to chase down in the materials all the textures to relink them. So once you've downloaded it, let's go ahead here and import it in Blender. Before we do that, actually, here in the Blender, make sure your units are set up properly. So go to the scene, units, make sure metric is selected, and as far as the unit scale, we want to put it at 0.01 here, because by default metric unit in Blender is meters, and Unreal uses centimeters. So you want to be sure here that one Blender unit equals 0.01 meter or 1 centimeter. Once you did that, you're ready to import your 3D model. So go ahead, file, import GLB here. Let's go to downloads. That will be the Tune Porsche 911 GT3 RS 2018. That's the one I just showed you. Now let's increase the view distance here. There you go. Now as you can see, all the colors are applied to it, which is really nice. Although it is facing the wrong direction. As you can see now, it is facing the positive y-axis. We need it to be facing the positive x. So I'm going to use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. I'm sorry, it's just I can't bring myself to click all sorts of buttons. But I've added this little widget here so you can see what I'm actually clicking. So select everything, click R for rotate, Z for the z-axis, and then just rotate it roughly toward the forward x-axis. And here you can open that. You see minus 91.5. Let's set that to minus 90. Now if we go here into the top view, you can see the car is facing the proper axis here. Now because Sketchfab, here everything is kind of nested in a way that you don't want. So just select everything, click Alt P, and clear parent and keep transformation. And all of these are just empties, so you can shift and left click to select them and delete them. Now you can see we have quite a few different objects. Very first thing we're going to do for this tutorial is to remove the wheels, because we will be importing the wheel meshes separately and attaching them to the vehicle inside of the vehicle blueprint. So we don't want the wheels to be on the mesh, but we still want the mesh to first be a skeletal mesh, and we want to have a bone in the right location to attach the wheels to. And previously I would use what I call an empty, just to create a bone to have an anchor point. But I think what I'm going to do this time is I will keep the rotors, and that's going to be my my whalebone. And so every car will have the rotors the appropriate size for the car, and we'll just be changing the rim and tire, basically. So the way to do that, first of all, select here the wheel and tire by shift clicking, and then Control J to join them. I will just hide it using the H key. Now you can see the rear wheels here are joined together. So I'll just shift select rim, tire, rotor, and calipers. And then I'll hit Control I to invert the selection, and H again to hide everything else. And I'm going to separate these one by one. So now I have the tires selected. Hit Tab to go into the edit view, wireframe, polygon or faces, and select one, right click, separate selection. Now I hit Tab again. Now you can see the tires are separate. Do the same for the rims. Tab, select this one, separate selection. Tab again to exit edit mode. Hide the rim. And repeat the same for the disc and the calipers. There you go. Now Alt H to unhide all. Let's go back into the shaded viewport. Now you can select again rim and tire, Control J to join them. Okay, cool. Now calipers and rotors need to have their pivot point in the exact same location. And so what I'm going to do in order for the wheels to attach to the vehicle properly is the rotors are going to have their pivot point onto the surface where the wheel is going to attach to. And what I mean by that, if I can just show you one of the wheels. It's going to be hard to see, but I'll try to get in there and show you what I mean. You can see the wheel here kind of intersect with the rotor. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you that. But basically, you want the rotor's pivot point to be on that surface, and you want the wheel's pivot point to be on that edge. And so when you snap them together, the wheel is going to be onto the surface of that rotor, and not like clipping through or having any sort of weird offset from it. And that way we can ensure all the wheels are going to fit all the vehicles and just have the proper spacing, if you will. So let's hide the wheel again. Select the rotor. Now let's go. Actually, let's go into this view here. Let's hide the calipers. Now you can see the pivot point is already pretty much centered on it, but not where we want it to be. So what I'm usually going to do is I'll use the vertex selection in the wireframe from the top. Just select all of these, like so. And now you can right click, snap to vertice, and cursor to selected. Now what that did is it put the 3D cursor right here at the center of the disk onto the outside surface of it. And now again, I've hit tab to exit edit mode, and I can right click here and set origin to 3D cursor. And now the pivot point for that disk is exactly where I need the bone to be. And if you hit RY, you can tell the rotor is rotating correctly. It's not kind of bouncing around or anything crazy. The pivot is perfectly centered. And so that's what you want. Now also do that for the matching caliper. That's the wheel. There's your caliper. So the caliper that goes with that disk, you also want to right click and set origin to 3D cursor. So that when the rim moves around, the caliper moves around as well, because they share the same pivot location. Because in the Unreal Engine, we're going to copy the translation of the wheel bone and paste it over to the caliper, so that the caliper will move with the wheel, but it won't rotate like the wheel does. And we do that in the animation blueprint to make sure the calipers are moving with the wheels properly. And especially for the front here, the pivot point is very important, because when the wheel rotates on the z-axis, so for example RZ22, it's important for the caliper to have the same pivot location, so that when you're steering, the caliper moves on the z-axis and match the rotor. So now this wheel is done. Let's do the same for every other wheel. So again, tab to edit mode, go to the top view, wireframe, and the vertice selection mode, and just select that, right click, snap vertice cursor to selected, there you go, and then set origin to 3D cursor. Now you can see the pivot point is located properly. Let's again find our matching caliper. There. Now this is the caliper. Please. Okay. Then right click, set origin to 3D cursor, same as we did for the rotor. Now this is the front left rotor. Again, edit mode, vertice, snap vertices, cursor to selected, there you go. Set origin to 3D cursor. I'm going pretty fast right now because you've seen it twice already, so I'm just gonna zoom through it. Here's your caliper. Set origin to 3D cursor. And voila. Now we're going to name these properly and then hide them because we're done with them. So this one here is going to be caliper front right. This one here, caliper rear right. And I'm not deleting them, I'm using the H key to hide them. That is caliper rear left, hide it. And that is caliper front left. This one here is going to be wheel front left. Although that's not the wheel, that's the bone where we will be attaching the wheel. And because we've set up our vehicle blueprints already to be using that bone for the wheels, we're going to keep that name. We're not going to go ahead and call it rotor. just so we don't break our blueprints. Okay, now all that's left to do is the body. Now in a future video I will obviously be splitting that body, you know, to take the bumper and the bonnet, the wing, all of those components that I want to be separate meshes so that I can swap them out. Like like I was saying, bumpers, even the front quarters here. You might want to be able to create another version of that without the cutout here for the vents, and so that the vented quarter panels would be an upgrade that you can install. Here the hood, you might want to create one again without the vents, and more plain than that without all of those nice lines to it. Same for the roof. The wing could be optional, and here you could want to change the bumper, but also that little lip here to have different exhaust tips, and so all of these would need to be separate. But for now, we're only going to focus on the wheels and materials, just for the sake of this video being not too complicated. And so all of these meshes here needs to be joined, but before I join them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle the materials, because that's easier to do once everything is separate. So as you can see now, all of these are the same material. Now I know for a fact that I want this little triangle here and this here to be orange for the turn signal. I want this to be the headlights, which is going to be a different material from the reverse lights here at the back. And again, the name of those materials are very important because we use them in the blueprints to change the emissive intensity of them for the brake lights to light up whenever we touch the brakes. Same goes for the reverse lights. So the name of those materials is going to be very important. So white lights, let me pull up the other one that I've already got here, just for the name. Okay, so I don't have a material called white light in my setup. What I do have is reverse light. And also headlight. And also turn signal. I also, for the red one here, red lights, I'm calling this one brake light. Now the names that you put in there aren't important, so long as all the vehicles share the exact same material names, so that you can create dynamic material instances for those materials in the blueprints. Okay, so this one right here, brake light, would be good, except for these little bottom slots here that are going to be the turn signals, and those two squares here that are just the light for the license plate. So let's go ahead, go into the wireframe mode, into face mode, sorry, not vertice, and select those two here. We will be adding again our turn signal, and we'll be assigning it to these polygons. This one here, the license plate light, I'm gonna get lazy and just assign the reverse light to it. So now you can see here, if I go here into the turn signal, this is the surface. Okay, viewport display here, you can change the color of this. So I'll set it to be orange, just so you can see where it is being applied to. Okay, so this one I am finished with the materials. So I will hide it again out of view. Now this one's is tricky a little bit, because there's a lot of things in there. So right now, everything is reverse light. Okay, so what I want to do is this, all of this, and you can see now why that's easier to apply the materials before you join the mesh. So all of this here should be turn signal, and these should be headlights. There you go. And just again, headlight here, viewport display, I think I'll just give them a color. Just not white, so you can see these are headlights and this is reverse light. Okay, now with that done, license plate here, that is fine. That's the name I'm using already for the project, because you might want to have a custom material just for the license plates. Now here onto the paint. Paint is the correct name here that I'm using in my project, so let's hide that as well. Now I know I want the hood or bonnet, roof and wing here to be paint 2, which is already the case, except the undercarriage here shouldn't be included in that. That should be black. So let's go ahead. Now in the project I made a bit of a mistake and I've named it paint underscore 02. So I'm gonna have to change it, unfortunately. Let's change the color of it as well. Let's make it almost white. And here in this one we will add another material slot for black, which will be the undercarriage. And just because it's easier and I don't want to hide everything and then unhide everything, I'll be moving this up 2 meters to work on it. And then once I'm done applying the materials, I'll be moving it back 2 meters. Now, this here is a vent of sort. It's not part of the bonnet. So let's go ahead and make that black as well. And I'm pretty sure that's it for the black here, so select black and assign it. Yep. Yep, that's looking good. Okay, let's move it back down. JZ -2. Put it back where it was. Since we're done with it, let's hide it. Sorry about that. Now this one also all black. That is correct. Although if you wanted to, you could have a third paint channel for this, which would be kind of the trims, really. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new material here called Paint 3. And then edit mode, make sure to select everything and assign the Paint 3. Although, sorry, these here, these are kind of the holes you're seeing through the scopes. Nope, nope, actually. No, that's alright, cool. Really, most of these should be black. Kind of. I might come back to that later. Really, the vents are alright. Those trims for sure. Headlights, not so much. Something I might want to change colors of. The window trims for sure. Not going to mess with those. Those should be black. They're always black. Okay, alright. I know what to do. Okay, you know what? I think I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I did now. And reassign the black everywhere. And assign Paint 3 only to select things. Such as the side skirt. Probably those vents as well. For sure, here I want the wings. Yeah, sometimes Control Plus works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on if the vertices are joined properly, which in this case they're not, unfortunately. So that complicates matters a little bit. And that's why I wanted to use the most simple 3D models possible for this tutorial series, because I'm not good with 3D modeling at all. And if I want to be able to show you guys vehicle customization, I know I have to do a lot in the modeling software. So I wanted to keep the model at a level I could work with, basically. Okay, so right away let's assign paint 3 to them. I almost forgot the mirrors. Yeah, okay, we'll do the vents here. Okay, now this is done, let's hide it. Now this, I have a material slot here called Windows for all of the clear glass. Oh, there's already a, oh yeah, there is a Windows material, okay. Good, windows already assigned, awesome. Interior, yes. Now mirrors, because I'm not going to be bothering with reflections, because we're going with a cartoon stylized look. Normally you'd want to have those separate, and UV unwrapped so you can use a render target to display the back view onto them or, whatever. But I'm just going to apply the same material as chrome. And this is it for the materials. That's all you had to do. Now if I Alt H to unhide everything, okay, those here, I don't know what I'm clicking right now, but that here should be black in there. That should be a home. Okay. Everything else looks pretty good. Okay, cool. Now, as far as the wheels go, we're only going to need one wheel model. So every other one we can delete. Well, adjust its pivot. Let's select the rotor here so that we can use its pivot point. And let me recall properly, was it Shift S? Yes. Shift S opens up this little menu here, and now you can snap 3D cursor here in the middle of the selected items, which in this case will be the pivot point of the rotor, just so that we can set the pivot point of the wheel to be the same as the rotor. So set origin to 3D cursor. And so now when we attach the wheel to the wheel bone, the wheel will have the proper offset compared to the rotor. And with that done, let's actually position it in the center of the scene. Because we'll be exporting it separately. Now again, let's hide all of these. Oops. By all of these, I mean the discs and calipers. And let's join everything else into one mesh. Select everything and hit Control G. Control J. Sorry, I speak French, and J and G in French are reversed compared to English. So J would be J in French, and G would be J. So it's kind of, I confuse them all the time. And that's it. If you select the body here, I like to call it body, so that all the names are the same. And then if we Alt H to unhide everything, you can select all of your wheels here in the outliner, except for the one that's the actual wheel mesh. Okay, select the wheel, then shift drag them onto the body to attach them. Then same for the calipers. Shift and drag them onto the body here to attach them. Now just like that, you have yourself a skeletal mesh that you can import in the engine. Now I completely forgot to check the scale of things, so let me open up here my web browser. Open up Google and check Porsche 911 GT3 RS 2018 wheel span or wheelbase. Okay, the wheelbase here is set to be 2453 millimeters. Let's use the measure tool. .4. Okay, we are pretty close. Pretty close. Let's just select everything again. Go back here into the measuring tool to bring out the ruler. Now let's scale everything a little bit. And that matches up pretty nicely. Okay, I like that. What am I doing? Alright, so that's going to be the scale of the this vehicle. And now again, just not in the measuring tool. Just select everything and hit Ctrl A and apply rotation and scale. Don't apply the location, because then all of the pivot points will go back to the origin and your wheels aren't going to spin right. Okay, let's save that actually. Porsche GT3 RS. And now it's time to export. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just selecting the wheel, Control I to select everything else but the wheel, and then File, Export, FBX. You want here to selected objects only, so you're not going to export the wheel now because it's the only thing that's not selected. Now you can see I'm already in my export folder with the right name and all that. And I want to export mesh, armature, and if you have empties in there, select that as well. No need to bake the animation. Armature here, you want to untick add leaf bone, very important. And if you want to preserve your smoothing groups and all that, if you did a lot of work in the normals and tangents and creating lines and all that just to make the model looks good, you can here in the geometry smoothing, you can select face. And now when you import it into the engine, you can select import normals and tangents, and all of your smoothing groups will be transferred over properly. And that's it. Now you have the exact same setup as I do for the vehicle, which is you have a skeletal mesh here with 4 calipers and 4 wheel bones. You have the proper material names for the paint slots, the brake lights, reverse lights, the glass in case you want to add the glass tint in your blueprint. And pretty much once you exported the wheel, you'll be finished. So let's go ahead and export the wheel as well. Now when you leave Blender and come back, all of those settings are getting reset, but you can save them into a preset if you want. Operator preset. So again, selected only. Okay, let's call that one wheel Porsche GT3 RS, just so we know what the wheel used to go onto. And actually, I should probably kind of standardize the size of the wheel. So for example, all the wheels should be the exact same size, and then you'd scale them up and down depending on the vehicle that they go to. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Pretty sure I'll do that. Okay, let's 0.5 meters. And only scale the that would be the X and Z, because the Y is going to be the thickness of your wheel, so don't scale that. And we're all the wheels are going to get exported at 0.5 meter radius. And so, for example, if in your wheel setup in your vehicle, you've set the wheel radius to be 30 centimeters, well, now we know the wheel is 50, so we can adjust the scale of the wheel mesh accordingly. And for example, in another vehicle, the wheel radius is 40 centimeters, but only in the back and like 35 in the front. Well, again, we know that every single wheel mesh is 50 centimeter in diameter and radius, and so we can scale the wheel meshes for every single wheel blueprint for every single vehicle, so that all the wheel meshes are going to match all the vehicles. And so yeah, that's it. Again, Control A to apply scale, very important. And you are good to go. Let's export that again. Wheel Porsche GT3 RS. And I'll do that for every single vehicle in the project, because that's what you need to do. And then I'll record the next part of the tutorial where we actually add a little scroll box to the menu to be able to swap out the wheels on the vehicles as part of the customization system. I hope this was useful and clarified a little bit of the process I'm using to prep those models. And I'll see you in the next video.